Yo, yo, yo. Grace and peace out there into the interspaces. How are we doing out there?
We're good.
All right, Grace and peace. This is the reassembling. We are back. I am Jesse Walsh, right here with me, steady as ever. Raven, mom, co-labor, favorite voice of clarity in the middle of chaos. Mom, are we locked in tonight?
Yes, I am. We are.
This is a space where confusion gets dismantled and truth gets rebuilt brick by brick. We're not here for shallow takes or recycled church cliches. We're here to think deeply, love boldly, and keep Christ at the absolute center of everything we do. At the reassembling, we don't just cancel hard questions. We confront them. We don't run from tension. We refine through it. If it challenges us, good. If it stretches us, even better. Real faith isn't afraid of scrutiny when it's rooted in Christ.
Amen.
This is where grace meets backbone, where compassion meets conviction, where truth isn't whispered, it's lived. If something we say tonight moves you, strengthens you, or brings you closer to Christ, don't stay in the shadows. Subscribe, help us grow on, especially Rumble and Kick. We're needing some traction over there. Invite someone who needs it. Grow with us. You can find us everywhere: TikTok, X, Clapper, Kick, Rumble. I'm on Instagram at Jesse.Walsh4090. We are both on Facebook under Jesse Walsh, Raven Marie Lynn, and Mom is on X at Crystal is Ives. Let's reassemble what the world tried to scatter. So we have an interesting one today. I don't know if anybody saw the thumbnail. What is this? What are you guys talking about? What's going on here?
Godzilla.
Godzilla. We are still in the theme of the Satanic Panic, all the influences it had in the 1980s. We're going to be talking about rock and roll music and Dungeons and Dragons in the 80s, and find some interesting things going on in the 80s. Like the hysteria was incredible, wasn't it?
Right. Saints
Right.
and everything.
Satan's and everything. So first, before we begin tonight's descent into the fog machine of 1980s moral panic, I also want to thank every single subscriber for tuning in. Seriously, thank you. Every like, every comment, every share, every person who shows up live, every person who watches later while eating leftover pizza at 1 a.m, like a responsible citizen of the digital empire. We do appreciate you. This channel keeps growing because you keep showing up. Tonight, you picked a beautiful topic. You're going to love it. A topic so bizarre, so dramatic, so soaked in hairspray, fear, bad theology, and daytime television panic that it almost feels like parody. Tonight, we're talking about the Satanic Panic. And not just in a vague way people use the phrase now. We are talking about the actual cultural meltdown of the 1980s when large portions of American society became convinced that Satan was not merely tempting people through sin, rebellion, pride, lust, greed, false religion, and unbelief. No, apparently, Satan had gotten bored with the old methods and decided to launch a multi-platform youth outreach program involving rock music, heavy metal, Dungeons and Dragons, fantasy art, backward song lyrics, horror movies, and teenagers wearing black t-shirts. Of course, that's how the devil works. Nothing says ancient prince of darkness like a 15-year-old in a denim jacket listening to Judas Priest while his mom screams from the kitchen, "Are you summoning Beelzebub or just ruining your hearing?"
Right.
This was the age when rock music was accused of containing hidden satanic messages. Parents, pastors, activists, and media personalities started warning people that if you played certain records backwards, you could allegedly hear secret demonic commands. Wow. Because apparently Satan, the father of lies, was also a part-time audio engineer who thought the best way to corrupt American youth was to hide messages in reverse vinyl like a demonic Easter egg hunt. Huh.
Yeah, because
Backmasking.
electric guitars are Satan, but acoustics okay.
Yes, it's the way of the Lord. Backmasking panic was real during the 1980s. Some Christian groups in the United States claimed that rock musicians were using backward messages for satanic purposes. There were even record-burning protests and attempts at anti-backmasking legislation during the broader Satanic Panic era.
Yep.
Now, just pause and enjoy the mental image. A group of adults gathered around a record player, spinning music backwards, squinting spiritually, if that's a thing, trying to decode whether a guitar solo said, "Serve Satan," or whether it was just distorted nonsense, because shockingly, music played backward, it sounds like nonsense. Who could have predicted that, right? Now, truly, the theological scholar of the rotary phone age were standing on the edge of discovery. Then came the fear over rock lyrics. In 1985, the Parents Music Resource Center, better known as the PMRC, helped push national attention onto explicit lyrics in popular music. That led to state Senate hearings where musicians like Frank Zappa, Dee Snider, and John Denver testified against censorship efforts. And here's the thing. Were there some gross lyrics in rock music? Absolutely. Were there some artists deliberately using occultic imagery because it was edgy, rebellious, theatrical, and profitable? Sure. Let's not pretend every album cover was a Precious Moments figurine. But the panic didn't stop at parents should be discerning. That would have been reasonable. Instead, the panic became your teenager listened to a guitar riff. Therefore, Lucifer has entered the chat. And this is where Christians need to be mature enough to make distinctions, because discernment says, let's evaluate the lyrics, the worldview, the lifestyle being promoted, and the effect this has on the heart. Panic says that drum solo has horns. There's a difference. Discernment is biblical. Panic is what happens when anxiety gets baptized and then handed a microphone. And once rock music had been dragged into the courtroom of public hysteria, it was only a matter of time before the next great villain appeared. Not drugs, not pornography, not broken homes, or not fatherlessness, not shallow churches, not America found the true enemy. A game, a tabletop game, a game with pencils, paper, dice, maps, imagery monsters, and socially awkward teenagers arguing over whether a wizard can carry 47 pounds of rope. So that's what we're going to be discussing: Dungeons and Dragons and rock and roll music.
Yeah, and I'm also adding as a special bonus, demonic toys from the 80s.
Demonic toys. Grace and Peas to Misfit 9307. All right.
Yeah.
Interesting, right? What do we have for rock and roll music? How evil was this?
Well, dude, what I found interesting just is the bands that were accused of having demonic lyrics when you played it backward. I listened to these songs backwards, and I even gave you a couple we're going to listen to.
Right.
And I'm sorry, I just ain't hearing it. Mm-hmm. But I think if you're looking for something, I think you can hear it.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, bands like the Beatles and Zeppelin. Now, what I found interesting that the bands that were kind of labeled as evil, like Zeppelin and Judas Priest and ELO and Queen, they responded and they're like, this is absurd. No, we didn't do that. Now, some of them did intentionally, but they didn't do anything evil. Like we'll talk about Revolution 9 by the Beatles. John actually explains what happened there. Okay.
Okay.
So, and then some of the bands started putting backward messages in to mock these people. I thought that was kind of funny. ELO did that. So.
Before we go into any content, we do want to give a shout out to YouTube themselves. We are doing some critiquing of some copyrighted material. So please forgive us as we use copyright disclaimer of fair use.
For teaching.
We will be doing for teaching, for scholarship research.
Yep.
So please don't flag us.
Please.
Yeah. Okay. So shall we open up the first video?
Yes, we shall. And this is called Satanic Panic, How Metal Was Targeted, and we'll go up to the 724 timestamp.
How metal was targeted.
Yeah. Now,
up to
me, I've never been a fan of metal. You like some metal, but so.
Of course I like metal.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Let's see if we can hear it. All right.
From the beginning to 720.
In the 1980s, heavy metal was becoming popularized in the United States and actually breaking into mainstream formats of entertainment. Visually, this meant that people unfamiliar with names like Black Sabbath, Judas Priest, etc. were all seeing black leather, hearing loud music, and being exposed to dark imagery, including depictions of the devil. That would not sit well with the Christian moms of America.
Violence in rock and roll lyrics, and where the record should be rated X.
It is like going to a porno movie and seeing everything, only it's a porno hearing session.
While the parents' groups are calling for voluntary restraint, some in the industry fear encroachment on the First Amendment. So-called porn rock is expected to be the subject of congressional hearings.
There have been documentaries and think pieces about Satanic Panic in the past, but I wanted to give a brief history lesson on this so I can talk about how Satanic Panic is still affecting music today. Oh yeah, our current generation is still dealing with the panic. In the 1980s, youth were being ignored and childhood rebellion and juvenile delinquency was seeing a rise. As a result, the politicians and religious leaders pointed their finger to the easiest target, heavy metal.
Are there influences trying to steal your soul? Well, perhaps no example of what can come along to warp the minds of youth stands out stronger than that of what's known as the violent punk rocker movement that originated in England.
Rock concerts, a Kemper staple, have come under fire by a small religious group. But as Doug Sudoff reports, the group now has the support of at least one city councilman.
We could require that group to sign a contract that they would not promote illegal activity. and to require them to put up a performance bond, which would be forfeitable if they violated.
Claiming Ozzy Osbourne and Judas Priest were evil back then was an easy call-out. How could someone dispute it? Bands and artists like this dress in black and sing about death and evil. Clearly, that's why the sweet American youngsters are all becoming degenerates. Going into the mid-'80s with heavy metal and fear-mongering both on the rise, the Gore family was also having issues. At the time, Senator Al Gore and wife Tipper were the innocent all-American family until Tipper found out her daughter was listening to Prince. After one Prince song, the pitchforks and flaming torches were brought out to attack all explicit music in any form.
Our songs about glorifying incest, there's songs about rape, thrill killing, sadomasochism.
Is there a song about glorifying incest? What song is that?
No idea.
And what kind of name is Tipper? I never got that. What kind of name is Tipper?
She's like a tipper of the iceberg.
I don't. Glorifying incest. I'm all ears for that.
I don't know.
There's a song that goes, quote, not a woman but a whore, I can taste the hate. Well, now I'm killing you. Watch your face turning blue, unquote, by a group that has sold 2 million copies of that particular album. They're very popular with young kids.
After enough riled-up politicians, religious leaders, educators, and outraged parents during the Reagan era got together, action was taken to have a hearing.
How would she handle rap music? Those are the real demons.
It's all quite literal. None of this is artistic merit and creative license. It's all literal. You know, when you look at things literally, all this is going on for sure.
Yes, there's some rap music that says disgusting things. Same with some rock music. We're not going to say that's not anywhere, but is that the motive of these bands? Is it prevalent in the rock scene? So we'll get into that.
If anything, I would argue that pop culture has more satanic imagery than any like rock and rap stuff. You know, look at the Katy Perrys and the Beyoncés. It's very sinister, and there's meanings behind it, and they're intentionally saying stuff. But like, anyway.
About how this awful music could be sold and why it shouldn't be allowed. The PMRC hearings, standing for the Parents Music Resource Center founded by Tipper Gore, were placed specifically to pressure the music industry into regulating explicit content in music. It got ugly. This also led to what was known as the Filthy 15. 15 songs used as examples of corruption to the youth through violent, obscene, and even occult-filled lyrics. The metal songs especially aligned with evil. This ranges from AC/DC, Motley Crue, and Twisted Sister, all the way to Madonna and Cyndi Lauper. On the list also was Darling Nikki, the Prince song that caused Tipper Gore to clutch her pearls. These hearings were well documented, and the music industry not only defended itself in a professional manner, but also got names like Rob Halford and Dee Snider to come in and enter the fray. The hearing with Dee Snider and members of Congress was a key focal point.
Somebody approached our office that they want the Senate committee is having a hearing on censorship with the PMRC and wanted to know if I would come and speak. I knew that they viewed me as just another dunderheaded rocker, and they would bring me in, make me look like a fool, and I would help their cause. And I'm playing these people like, mentally I'm setting these guys up for the kill.
Since I seem to be the only person addressing this committee today who has been a direct target of accusations from the presumably responsible PMRC, I would like to use this occasion to speak on a more personal note and show just how unfair the whole concept of lyrical interpretation and judgment can be.
And I am just tearing apart everything that they've accused me of, disproving beyond a shadow of a doubt that everything they've accused me of has been wrong, false, and they are scrambling.
People can interpret it many ways. Ms. Gore was looking for sadomasochism and bondage, and she found it. Someone looking for surgical references would have found it as well.
I can't help that Tipper Gore's got a dirty mind, and Al Gore just, oh my God, he really jumped over the table.
The hearing ended with a parental advisory warning being mandatory on music with explicit content. The PMRC got what they wanted by warning consumers what to avoid, but the musicians got the best deal out of it because it was proven statistically that for 10 years solid, albums with the parental advisory label would sell significantly more copies than other albums from the same genres and labels. All that happened, the argument of Satanic Panic was weaponized, decisions were enforced, And the panic still existed because heavy metal was still popular, and the youth were not instantly transformed into Sunday school attending angels as the PMRC tried to make them out to be. The tragic side of this period of metal history was that there was a significant number of deaths in the 80s that people were trying to say were influenced by metal. Several suicides and deaths had an unrelated theme, and that a number of the victims were metal fans. That is more than enough fuel to add to the fire for media and fear-mongering religious figures. Judas Priest was even sued as being responsible for influencing a young fan into killing themselves through evil messages via backmasking and dark imagery.
Thank you. Is the exhalation of breath?
Yes.
Is that a normal part of your singing?
That's the way I've always sung. That's just my style.
Are there subliminal duets on the Better By You, Better Than Me song?
Absolutely not.
This was not an isolated event, as other bands and artists were being targeted for having either indirect or direct influence on teenage deaths in America. Judas Priest was cleared of everything, the backmasking argument proved to be nothing, and the claims of Satanism in metal continued on through anger and fear-mongering into the 90s, even outside of metal where grunge, industrial, and other subgenres would then be targeted. It's also worth pointing out that many of the bands in heavy music at the time were dressing the parts, but in no way evil. I really agree with Alice Cooper's explanation on this one specific argument.
If you're looking for Satanism, first of all, you don't look to rock and roll. A bunch of kids running around playing loud guitars and going like that. That's Halloween.
It was at that point in the early 90s where you would turn on a TV and see a screaming televangelist wanting donations to fight the devil and the evils of music. You'd then change the channel and see Soundgarden's video for Jesus Christ Pose on MTV. It was a self-fueling fire at that point. Satanic Panic in heavy metal and rock music is complicated. On the one hand, the panic led to increased censorship and self-censorship in the music industry, which had a significant impact on the way that heavy metal and rock music were produced and consumed. On the other hand, the panic also helped create a sense of community and solidarity among heavy metal and rock fans who felt unfairly targeted by the media and other authorities. Today, heavy metal and rock music continues to be popular genres, even if not the most popular, and many of the bands that were accused of promoting Satanism during the Satanic Panic are now considered legends of the genre. There are many beats and notable events in all this that I can't cover due to time and wanting brevity for the video. The point I want to make after all this is that Satanic Panic in music is still prevalent. It's just not targeted toward hard rock and metal anymore.
Yeah. I find it interesting they have Jimmy Swaggart up there. Remember when that brother got caught with a prostitute?
Yeah. Rather interesting. When I say this, you could say the same thing for the Beatles. Anything that was just different. Elvis, I mean, that wasn't led to Satanic Panic, but it was just something new. Edgy, got the youth. It seems like to be Satan's number one motive is to get the youth involved, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm understanding that I'm one of the older groups now. When I look at the younger music, this isn't music, you know. It's generation. There's a funny video I saw. Some guy talking about all the way back in the caveman times. He's like, oh, they have those rocks with rolling rocks, the wheel that'll never catch on, you know. So since the beginning of time, they've always been hating on the younger generation. It's like it'll always go on, you know.
Right.
But to just accuse them of this.
Yeah, and I'm not a fan of Twisted Sister. I'm not a fan of Judas Priest. However, I will give mad respect to Dee Snider. How he handled that. I thought he made some really good points, but he had long hair and he is a rock man, so he must be evil.
Plus, I don't think they were prepared for his intellect. They're like, oh, these guys are just, you know, they're hopped up on drugs and constantly drunk. Here he comes in. Yeah, he may look different, but he's intellectually honest, and he's literally debating Al Gore.
As far as Judas Priest, can you imagine being that man?
That's crazy.
Having to defend themselves that no, we didn't want kids to kill themselves. That's a horrible accusation.
Horrible. It is horrible.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyways.
So you have a auditory. So go into this auditory. How do you pronounce it?
It is pronounced pareidolia.
Pareidolia.
And this is just a quick video that talks about we can see things we want to see and hear things we want to hear. Kind of like we kind of, you know, have an illusion in our mind and our eyes sometimes that we just assume that's, you know, that's Jesus in a piece of toast or whatever.
Oh yeah. Do it subconsciously. Yeah, like in the religious, we've done it through church history. We did it video on the relics.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about the saints and how some people felt the spirit of Mary. I mean, many of those Latin countries and I would say the medieval period saw Mary.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to just be secular music. It could be
Right.
anything. That's just human nature. All right, let's go into it.
What is auditory pareidolia? Imagine hearing a familiar tune in the hum of your refrigerator or catching a whisper in the static of a radio. That's what auditory pareidolia is all about. It's when your brain interprets random sounds as meaningful ones, like voices or melodies, even though no actual pattern exists. This phenomenon happens because our brains are wired to find patterns and make sense of what we hear. When faced with unclear or repetitive noises, the mind tries to match them to familiar sounds stored in memory. So, a random background noise might suddenly seem like someone is talking or singing. Auditory pareidolia is a kind of perception trick. It's related to the broader idea of pareidolia, which most people think of as seeing faces in clouds or patterns in rocks. But in this case, it's about hearing things in noise. For example, some people hear a phrase or a word in the crackling of a fire or the static of a television. It's important to know that hearing these sounds isn't a sign of mental illness. It's a normal part of how our brains work. Our pattern recognition system is so active that it sometimes creates false signals, especially when the sounds are ambiguous or repetitive. That's why you might think you hear a baby's giggle in a squeaky toy or a voice in the wind. Scientists study auditory pareidolia to understand how perception and consciousness work. It also helps explain certain hallucinations and neurological conditions. This phenomenon shows how our minds can sometimes fill in gaps or create illusions from incomplete sensory information. For example, during quiet moments, you might swear you hear a conversation or a familiar tune. It's your brain trying to find order in chaos. Cultural background and personal experiences influence what you hear, so too people might interpret the same noise differently. In essence, auditory pareidolia reveals how our perception is not always a perfect reflection of reality. Instead, it's a creative process that sometimes tricks us into hearing what isn't really there. It's a fascinating peek into the quirks of how our minds work and how we interpret the world around us.
Yeah, what do you think of that?
Interesting. I can give multiple examples of my own experience with that. Did you hear that? Someone, my phone ring. Did you hear that? So yeah. And when the hysteria, and there's a culture behind it, when there is it's basically a movement. The Satanic Panic is a movement. You know what they've been saying on the news. So I hear it. Can you not hear it? Easily influential,
Right. Yeah. So
is it true is the question.
Right. Okay, so now here we're going to have John Lennon talk about Revolution number 9, where he repeatedly says number 9. So.
Okay, what does that mean? Revolution number 9.
John Lennon talks
Educate the young bucks. Educate us.
Well, Revolution 9 is, the song, right?
I know the song. Just never knew what it meant.
Well, it's about,
Revolution.
Right, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
But my point is, there's no deep meaning about number 9. We'll find out. Okay.
Yeah, they're not to rip on Beatles. Love the Beatles. I have tons of their songs on my playlist, but a lot of their songs are just kind of just playful. A lot of these songs they're very young when they write them. They're love songs. They're simple. They're simply written, but looking deep into it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not at all.
Okay.
I have never met you until this afternoon, and had I met you, I would surely have asked this question. How much of Revolution number 9 from the White Album was accidental?
Well, it's like an action painting. Revolution number 9 is the weird one, right? I had a lot of loops, tape loops, which is just a circle of tape. people who don't understand it, that repeats itself over and over. Had about 10 of them on different mono machines, all spinning at once with pencils and things holding them. I had a basic track, which was the end of the Revolution song, where we'd gone on and on and on and on. And I just played it sort of live into another tape and just brought them in on faders, like you do as a DJ, and brought them in like that. And it was accidental in that way. I think I did it twice, maybe. And the second one was the take.
Mm-hmm.
And the number nine was an engineer's voice. You know, they have test tapes to see that the tapes are all right.
Mm-hmm.
And the voice was saying, "This is number 9 megacycles." So he was talking like that. And I just liked the way he said number 9. So I just made a loop of him saying number 9 and brought that in whenever I felt like it.
Uh-huh.
And 9th of October, I'll be 105, and 9 seems to be my number.
My birthday.
And it's the highest number in the universe. After that, you go back to 1.
Number 9, number 9, number 9.
Okay, interesting. And I know.
So that mystery is solved.
Yeah, and so they play it backwards since he's saying number 9. What's your conclusion, right? Is it 666? Is that what the whole spiel is about? Because he's saying 9, and you play it backwards. It's.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
It doesn't make any sense to me. So
Number 9, number 9. I mean, I can see if he says it 3 times. Does it say it 3 times on the record?
Than that. I think it says.
Oh, so think about it though. If you're looking for it and he's saying number 9, play it backwards, obviously, or upside down. A 9 upside down backwards is a 6. Okay, I get it.
Yeah. Now this next one is about Helter Skelter, and it's actually we're going to hear it played backwards.
Helter
See what
Skelter.
We pick up from that.
This is one of Manson's jams, right? Charles Manson's.
I like this song. I think it's cool.
Wow. Okay.
No, keep going. They'll play some more.
Okay. This is all backwards, right?
I think it is right now. Might be. Did you catch any of that? You have a very active imagination.
That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I'd like some up. I'd like some up. How
Yeah.
on earth can you conclude that there's if you're
So I
yeah.
thought it would be interesting to play these songs and see if our viewers heard all this, because I certainly didn't hear it.
Absolutely not.
And even if I did hear it, half of that made no sense. It's all gibberish.
Get off my
Right?
lemon. What does that even mean?
Oh, Lord. Okay. So then we
Wow.
have Stairway to Heaven backwards. Let's play that one.
Stairway to Heaven. Yeah, that's gonna be great.
Yeah, I'm just like,
I'd like some up. I'd like some up. What on earth does that mean? Okay, sure.
oh, here it is. Hold on here.
Satanic does sort of if you listen closely.
I will listen closely now.
If there's a bustle in your hedgerow, don't be alone there.
Uh-oh. Copyright.
It's just a sprinkling for the May Queen.
We are critiquing, okay? We are critiquing.
You can go by, but in the long run, there's still time to change the road.
Now let's go back. It might be No.
What do you think about it?
No, I actually absolutely not. Sam Satan.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, that's
And
pretty
even
crazy.
Robert Plant and Jimmy Page were specifically asked about this song.
Yeah.
Were you making references to Satan, and Jimmy said something like, it's hard enough to play a song good normally. He's like, no. Now, most of us know that Jimmy Page, yes, he was interested in the occult.
Right.
Okay, I get that. He doesn't know the Lord, so we all have that God-shaped vacuums. We start looking for spiritual things, right? But does that mean, since he had those interests, all that was put in their music and they were trying to force people or encourage people to worship Satan?
Yeah, that's just such a stretch. Oh my goodness. And it's what we call in the writing world double entendres, when you have writing one story and it can have two different definitions moving forward. But and I know a lot of musicians and writers they're very brilliant. You know, there's some great songwriters out there and throughout music history. But to be able to write a cohesive song forward and then backwards, and there's a mode. I mean, you're really kind of stretching the human mind. I don't think any humans writing down with intent. Oh well, I have to write this forward, and then they're rehearsing it backwards. It's so far-fetched. Come on now.
Like I said, some of the bands that were accused of these things, like ELO, they did put some backward stuff in, and they were just mocking the people looking for this, basically. I think ELO said something like, congratulations, you found the mystery, or something.
So stupid.
It was something funny, but
wow.
But see, that's another case of a person that probably doesn't know any of these songs from Zeppelin or the Beatles, but they've heard, well, I think they worship Satan, so probably every song they wrote was pretty evil.
Oh, absolutely. Has to be.
Has to be.
That's just ridiculous. Hold on, let me go backwards. Okay, let's see if you can see her. You go backwards. Yeah.
Let's go backwards. So now
okay, so
the
this is Judas Priest, the laws, what's it called?
No, we missed a few things here. The rock backmasking in 1980 Satanic Panic from 1834 to 2012 is the timestamp.
I'm pretty sure I have that.
Yeah, we're just gonna watch 2 minutes of this one.
I have Demonic Toys.
That thing.
Did I not get that one? You're gonna give me a second. I'll have to get that one. Backmasking. Let's look
Yeah,
for
rock.
backmasking. Give me a second. I'll have to pull it up.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought I gave you that one.
From the tape.
It is from Rolf Potts. Yeah, Rolf Potts.
Rolf Potts. Okay. And we're starting where again? I'm sorry.
1834 to 2012, so less than 2 minutes.
1834. Man, I'm getting better at this. Okay.
Very good at it.
Okay.
Crying.
Too, including Lester Bangs, George Benson, and Ornette Coleman.
Yes.
Dave Thomas from Pear Ubu was mentioned as a Jehovah's Witness.
Well, I think it's if you understand evangelical culture, that everything Jehovah's Witnesses, Mormons. In fact, I think Alice Cooper is mentioned as a Mormon.
Mormon son.
As a son of a Mormon. And then
Preacher,
ecology. Yeah. I mean, I think he's really reaching with ecology. But then the fact that like he can paint the Eagles, which are sort of soft country rock, as sort of this occultic band that is somehow tied into the Church of Satan. So I'll read a little bit about this chapter. It's called "Which Way," spelled W-I-T-C-H, Are the Eagles Flying?
And now I do like that title.
Yeah,
I gotta say.
Which way?
Well,
Witchy woman.
That's him playing with language here. But it says, if you were to open the album, this is the Hotel California album. If you'd open this album and look on the inside cover, you would see 3 windows on the far left side. In the middle window, if you look very closely, there's a man's face who resembles Anton LaVey, who's the founder of the Church of Satan and is called the Black Pope by his followers. Is this an accident? Hardly! Exclamation point. Well, on a recent speaking tour, we went to San Francisco looking for the Satanic Church and found the street where they used to meet. It's on California Street.
Dun, dun, dun.
The 5th stanza of the song says, So I called up the captain, please bring me my wine. We haven't had that spirit since 1969. May I remind you that wine is symbolic of the Holy Spirit in Christianity? And he said that they hadn't had that spirit since 1969. That's when the Satanic Bible was copyrighted and released. So I think there's a lot of 2 + 2 = 5 detective work.
Well, I heard that same rumor years and years ago too.
Yeah.
Did you hear that from someone somewhere along the line?
Yeah. So I mean there was also that current as you start getting older, the little things, the sort of urban legends about songs.
How influential was this book? Maybe more so than we thought. Maybe.
Right.
Well, I want to come back to that.
Yeah. But there would be little things like I don't recall it being mentioned in here, but the song "Inagata Davida" by Iron Butterfly, which features that drum solo, right? So there was this story when I was introduced to it. This sort of older guy said, "You got to hear this song, and here's what this is about. It's about this man and woman who fall in love, but the woman's unfaithful, so he kills her and he buries her under the house." And the drum solo is her heart coming back and starting to beat. The guy can't think of anything, and then it ends, right? So there's this whole thing, but there was no magazine that was coming with this with press from Iron Butterfly to explain this to me. There was no MTV, so it was like, ooh, well, that's interesting.
So they are talking about this book, Backward Masking Unmasked, written in 1981, I believe, by a pastor. I'm going to read a little bit from this book. But so Anton LaVey's in the window of the house on the cover of Hotel California. Guess what? I researched that. No, they hired a woman to be in the window.
And Iron Butterfly, wasn't that the myth in a Garden of Eden? That was in a God of Eden.
Yeah, they were saying he was drunk and he said. But anyway, I always thought that song was cool. So anyways, okay. So now we can look at the Judas Priest lawsuit up until from the beginning to 747 timestamp, which I found this very sad. I really did.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go.
In 1969, English rock band Spooky Tooth would release a song called Better By You, Better Than Me. The song would appear on Judas Priest's 1978 album Stained Class. And 7 years later, on December 23, 1985, 2 young men, an 18-year-old named Raymond Belknap and a 20-year-old named James Vance, who both hailed from Sparks, Nevada, spent the night drinking and smoking pot and listening to a Judas Priest record before making a pact to take their own lives. The pair of men went to a nearby...
So drinking and smoking pot, I'm sure that didn't affect their minds at all.
No.
Okay, it's the song. Okay,
They had "Thus saith the Lord" on their minds, right?
Yeah, it was the song that killed them. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of scapegoats for that stuff. Still going on to this day.
It is.
It'll never stop. That's just human nature.
Playground at a church and attempted to end their lives with a shotgun. Belknap would die instantly, while Vance would survive, albeit being horribly disfigured, and live for another 3 years before finally passing away. The LA Times reported his passing in 1988, claiming he was admitted to a hospital for depression before slipping into a coma and passing away. The paper claimed that a drug overdose may have resulted in him lapsing into a coma, and it was revealed that Vance left behind a 1-year-old daughter. The families of the victims soon turned their anger towards Judas Priest and their label CBS Records. They blamed both parties for their sons' deaths, alleging the band hid subliminal messages on their cover of Better By You, Better Than Me, which could be found if the track was played backwards, they'd allege. Amongst these subliminal messages they alleged to be included on the recording were, and I quote, "Do it and let's be dead." The lawsuit was spurred after lone survivor James Vance wrote a letter to Belknap's mother, which read, and I quote, "I believe that alcohol and heavy metal music such as Judas Priest led us to being mesmerized." A civil lawsuit would be filed in 1986, 1 year after the incident, but wouldn't go to trial until...
They're trying to say there was a subliminal message that the singer was saying, do it. What about Nike says just do it? Does that talk about suicide too? What a stretch and everything.
Yeah, context. We there's a joke going around, with people opening their Bibles. Lord, tell me what I should do, and they open it up and said, "Whatever you do, do it quickly." And then they switch to another passage that says, "And Judas hung himself." So I mean, could easily abuse that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Keep going. More of this one.
Until 1990 in the Paris home state of Nevada. The family sought a minimum of $3.6 million in damages to cover medical bills and support for Vance's daughter. It was 2 years prior that Ozzy Osbourne had been involved in a similar case over the lyrics to one of his songs, which allegedly drove a fan to take his own life. But unlike the Osbourne lawsuit, which was thrown out of court because Ozzy's lyrics were protected under free speech, the same couldn't be said for Judas Priest. Technically, subliminal messages aren't considered speech. The case involving Judas Priest became more about whether there were subliminal messages and whether they were discernible to the average listener and whether they could influence someone's thinking. It may surprise you to know that the complainants originally took the band to court over another song called Hero's End from the same album. Jane Andrews, who served as a member of the band's management team, would reveal that the complainants took issue with the lyrics on the song, with Andrews recalling, "They tried to say the band were saying you could only be a hero if you killed yourself, till I had to give them the correct lyrics, which is why do heroes have to die?" Then they changed their plea to subliminal messages on the album, they would say. Guitarist Glenn Tipton would tell Louder Sound, "It's a fact that if you play speech backwards, some of it will seem to make sense. So I asked permission to go into the studio and find some perfectly innocent phonetic flukes.
Keep a
The
job.
lawyers didn't want to do it, but I insisted. We bought a copy of the Stained Class album in a local record shop, went into the studio, recorded it to tape, turned it over, and played it backwards. Right away we found, 'Hey Mom, my chair's broken and give me a peppermint and help me keep a job.' The lawyers for Judas Priest and their label contended that the band had no known subliminal messages on the record and instead questioned the character of the two young men, pointing to their troubled upbringing as being responsible for their deaths. The LA Times even wrote a profile during the trial on the mothers as well as their sons, and it was less than flattering. The article would state that Belknap's mother had been previously married 4 times and that her son was a subject of abuse from her 4th husband, going on to write, and I quote, "Belknap showed no interest in school and, like Vance, dropped out of the 10th grade. Working a series of construction jobs, he acquired a sawed-off shotgun, a .22 rifle, and a dart gun. He drank alcohol, smoked marijuana, and according to James Vance, experimented with amphetamines and cocaine. Still, his mother insists that Belknap was not a drug abuser, saying he paid room and board, helped around the house, and always took part in family activities such as fishing, swimming, and backpacking." Court records also show that Belknap stole 4...
Mom's not living in reality. He goes fishing and helps around the house. Maybe he dabbles with amphetamines, cocaine, but I think it's just the song.
It's the song he's listening to. It has to be. It's not his fault.
Denial, right? That's insane.
$150 from his employer in 1984 and took a bus to Oklahoma to visit his natural father. He gave himself up to the police and was placed on probation. Looking back on the events leading up to her son's death, Robertson says she thinks Belknap had one glaring fault. When it came to making decisions, Ray did not know how to take the lead. He was always a follower. As for Vance, the LA Times would write, according to court documents, Vance's biological father abandoned his 17-year-old mother while she was still pregnant with his boy. Vance was held back to repeat the first and second grades. At the age of 7, he was sent to a therapist for tying a belt around his forehead and ripping out handfuls of his own hair during class. The paper would go on to write about a domestic altercation between Vance and his mother, with his mother telling the paper, "My biggest problem with the school system was that they would say James's behavioral problems came from home. No one would acknowledge that he had a learning disability until the 6th grade." Court documents also revealed that Vance's stepfather was, and I quote, "a weekend alcoholic," and his mother also drank in excess prior to stopping in the early 70s. The Times would cite the same court documents that reported a history of drug abuse, with Vance attending AA and NA meetings and running away from home upwards of 13 times. Despite all this, Vance blamed music for her son's problems, telling the paper, "Heavy metal changed his personality. When James started listening to Judas Priest, he lost all respect for authority," she'd say. The complainants had several star witnesses, one of which was author Wilson Bryan Key, who had written extensively about subliminal messages. The defense's other star witness claimed to be an audio expert, but it turned out he was actually a marine biologist who dabbled a bit in audio. Here's the news media highlighting these two witnesses.
James and Ray were chanting, "Do it, do it, do it." They did not even know where it came from.
Do what? Do it, do it, do it. Like it could pertain to anything. Anybody who has some kind of thing going on in their life, do it, do it, do it. So how
No,
is
it
it
means suicide, brother. You should know this.
really getting this stuff? This is just so the hysteria is just.
Yeah, here's the expert.
Wait till we get into the West Memphis 3 and that
I
expert.
was just thinking that expert.
That was hilarious. Okay.
It came from the Judas Priest album, according to Dr. Wilson Bryan Key, a professor of marketing who has written...
Professor of marketing.
It sounded like it. It literally sounded like a Tyrannosaurus Rex in the jungle. Let's replay that.
It came from.
It came from the Judas Priest album, according to Dr. Wilson Bryan Key, a professor of marketing who has written extensively on subliminal messages. He says the song "Better by You, Better Than Me" contains the barely audible words "do it," repeated over and over.
And each time "do it" is increased in hysterical intensity. So it's "do it, do it, do it, do it." And we pulled 12 of those out of that one song.
Dr. Keene sees images of sex and death in all kinds of things, from the Ritz cracker to 17th century art. He sees the word sex written in Lincoln's beard on the $5 bill. There is no subliminal content on the stained glass album.
Observers of the music scene are frightened by this and other recent court cases.
I think right now the attacks on rap music and heavy metal represent a very essential threat to liberties.
The members of the Judas Priest band say they've done nothing wrong, that the whole notion of subliminal lyrics is preposterous.
Did you say "do it" sometime during the recording?
No. George Lewis.
Their main witnesses is Wilson Bryan Key, who's written books on subliminal messages.
Time must end before 16. This reoccurs in the lyrics. The idea that 16 is the high point in life. After that, it's all downhill, so pick your time and place and blow yourself away. Okay, the first line, read forward, says, "New arms into addular bliss." Now, when you take that line out and play it backwards, you're getting this. Sing my evil spirit.
Attempt to demonstrate the existence.
I did not hear. I heard "say that's what I heard. I didn't hear anything about a spirit. Did you hear that?
You know what I honestly think it is that really killed this whole idea is that courtroom. Because there's no way you can substantiate that. And did you hear him say "baby on"? I know I didn't hear it. And then a room full of jurors. It's all speculation. So I think it's due to the court system and having. Let's slow down. Let's look at this rationally. That's probably what
But that expert heard that.
To be an expert in this field, I feel sorry for you. I want to play that again because it was pretty funny.
I did not hear that.
Did you?
Place and blow yourself away. Okay, the first line, read forward, says, new arms into adjular bliss. Now, when you take that line out and play it backwards, you're getting this. Sing my evil spirit.
Attempt to demonstrate the existence.
On earth.
I did not hear that.
No, it did not sound like that at all. What do you say? Play my evil spirit. Oh,
But the expert heard it, so, you know.
my goodness.
Of these alleged subliminal messages, the prosecution recently brought in a man named Bill Nickloff, who was identified as an audio expert, but who turned out to be a marine biologist and only an amateur audio enthusiast. Nickloff set up some computerized equipment and proceeded to unveil what he seemed to think were such evil hidden messages as "do it" and "F the Lord." See what you make of this.
Would you tell us which of your reverse phrases we are hearing now?
See what you make of this.
I guess I'm not an expert, so I can't.
It was completely inaudible. One more time.
No, my brother knows what he's saying.
I'm sorry. Excuse me. I almost choked on my sunflower seeds. Okay.
Equipment and proceeded to unveil what he seemed to think were such evil
Like
hidden
furniture being
messages
moved.
as "do it" and "F the Lord." See what you make of this.
Would you tell us which of your reverse phrases we are hearing now?
Expert of the Lord.
I think that because of the what we're hearing today with regards to the real credibility of the witness, the whole case is based on this so-called expert's testimony, and it appears to be more and more shallow. You know, this guy's no qualifications, and you know, it just doesn't seem to be. They just don't seem to be able to prove in any way, shape, or form whatsoever that there are these subliminal messages on the album.
Judas Priest frontman Rob Halford would look back at the courtroom proceedings saying, "We had to sit in this courtroom in Reno for 6 weeks. It was like Disney World. We had no idea what a subliminal message was. It was just a combination of some weird guitar sounds and the way I exhaled between lyrics. I had to sing Better by You, Better Than Me in court, a cappella. I think that was when the judge thought, what am I doing here? No band goes out of its way to kill its fans," he frustratingly added. The LA Times would report that one of the days of the trial would see the case moved from the courtroom to the recording studio, reporting, and I quote, "Nevada District Judge Jerry Whitehead will convene his court in a Reno studio to listen to recordings of the original 24 tracks that were mixed into Better by You, Better Than Me on the album Stained Class." Lawyers for the British group and CBS Records say they will also present testimony from the album's sound engineer and producer that there were no phrases such as "do it" hidden in the song. Even Rob Halford would take the stand and be asked to sing parts of the song and claim that the phrase "do it" may have been mistaken by the complainant's lawyers as him inhaling.
Are there subliminal "do it" on the Better by You, Better Than Me song?
Absolutely not.
This past Tuesday in Reno, Nevada District Court, Rob Halford repeatedly denied the previous week's findings of a so-called audio expert who searched long and hard for backwards messages in the music of Judas Priest.
What are the sounds that you hear at those locations on the 24-track made up of?
The sounds I hear are essentially my own exhalation of breath at the end of the line that I'm singing.
And to show that he didn't invent a way to sing forward in order to be understood backward, Halford even gave an impromptu performance.
Would you sing those two lines with as you sang them?
They were just singing now.
Yes. Can you sing?
Get the
You
right.
need a drink of water first?
I think I get the right key. It goes. Better by you, better than me. You can say what I can see.
I don't hear "do it." Do you?
That is absolutely ridiculous. All pure speculation.
I'm looking at the actual lyrics of the song. I don't see anything in there that talks about suicide or.
Yeah. Even if you were to look at it backwards, you're just not looking at it backwards.
Yeah, so I think we're good with that.
Okay, we want to see some demonic toys now. Now we have the influence on the toys.
Hold on a second here.
Mhm.
Jumping ahead here. Oh no, you're right, dude. When I saw this, I think I messaged you, and I
Mhm.
was like, "You have got to." This had me dying. So here we go. It gets
Demonic
worse, folks.
toys. Interesting.
Yeah, Satan's toys.
This unique program combines the dynamic ministry of God's Word, the discussion of contemporary issues, and the demonstration of God's power.
It's 15 minutes.
Hello, I'm Gary Greenwald, and over the past several years, the Eagle's Nest Ministries has exposed certain things like rock and roll music, Dungeons and Dragons, marijuana, and even the New Age movement, and now we feel there's another attack upon our society. If I say something like wicked witches and demon clouds and spell books, and even the zone of eternal evil, what comes to mind? What do you think of? Now, I've got a guest today. His name is Phil Phillips. He's from Texas. He has been involved in missions work in his life, and he has now felt called to study the effects of cartoons and children's toys and even TV programs upon our children today. And I'd like to introduce a young man. And Phil, how did you get started in exploring all of this?
The Lord directed me to go on a 14-day fast. And during this fast, I did something very unusual. I walked into a toy store.
And that brother said,
Why is he talking like that?
when he was on a 14-day fast, I'm like, okay, so you're on a fast. Were you thinking clearly on this 14-day?
The Lord told me to go into a toy store. So he was on a 14-day fast, and the Lord told him to go into a toy store. Okay.
Yeah.
Copy. Continue.
Was faced with a toy holding an occult symbol in its hand. Now this got my curiosity up, so I purchased the toy. About 3 days later, I was driving home from these series of services, and the Lord spoke to me about what happens when a child plays with a toy and how they project themselves with their imagination into a toy, and they give it life, character, abilities, talents, and they set the surrounding around the toy.
Now, wait a minute. Now, you're saying a child actually projects himself into the toy.
The toy is a lifeless hunk of plastic, and it only comes to life with that projection of the imagination.
So the child vicariously lives through that toy.
Wait, the toys actually come into life with that projection? Where is he getting these conclusions? And it comes together that live.
When I saw this online, I put a comment in the chat. I'm like, oh my God, I let my son play with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And wouldn't you know it, now he's possessed.
I was a Ninja Turtle. He's like the living embodiment of one of the Hardy Boys. He's getting a clue. Okay, let's run it back. He talks just like him, sounds like him.
Now, you're saying a child actually projects himself into the toy.
The toy is a lifeless hunk of plastic, and it only comes to life with that projection of the imagination.
So the child vicariously lives through that toy.
Yes, very much so.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lord told me that children were being affected by these things and that I was to do something about it.
When do you feel this blatant turn towards the occult and witchcraft really took on its momentum?
Well, there's a cartoon called He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. Now, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe really broke the ground on this cartoon occultism.
Let's watch on the screen.
Where's he getting cartoon occultism?
We'll
It's He-Man.
No, he's
right now
not talking
and
to
see an opening to a He-Man series and see some of the occultic overtones as we begin this.
Power of Grayskull.
What you just seen is He-Man being transformed. In fact, his name is Adam.
Yeah.
First man.
Interesting. A lady had written to the Eagle's Nest, and she said, how harmless are the cartoon characters on the Masters of the Universe program for children?
My dad was talking about my presentation in a church, and a little boy was seen afterwards out in the parking lot with He-Man in his hand, running around in circles saying, He-Man has more power than Jesus. He-Man has more power than Jesus.
Let's look at Skeletor now. We've got him up on our screen, and Skeletor is this ugly-looking skeletal creature with a staff in his hand. Now, what's that staff that he's got in his hand?
The staff is a ram's head staff. Now, the ram's head is a very occultic symbol. It's boiled in cauldrons. It's used in different occult practices.
Could we talk about Snake Mountain for
Sure,
just a
let's
minute?
take a look at it.
I mean, this is definitely an occultic toy, and it's got an interesting little feature here. I'm going to turn it on. It can actually transform your voice
Peace, Brother Reginald.
from your regular voice to that of an occultic hero. Is that correct? So let's get a Skeletor type of voice. Let me turn this on here. I think I'm getting it too loud. Skeletor, the master of the universe.
This is Tila.
This is like real research. This is they're serious.
The Lord told them after his 14-day fast. And this sister's just as evil.
So God revealed this to him in his 14-day fast and told him to go into a toy store, right? Okay. I'm just trying to follow the logic here.
They call her the warrior goddess or the patron saint of all warriors. And this young lady is involved in witchcraft, and you notice that she's a very voluptuous looking thing, and they wear very tightly clad clothes and sometimes even negligee type things on the show.
So there's a sensuality about the toys also.
Yes. This character is called Many-Faces. Many-Faces becomes demon-possessed by drinking a magical potion that Skeletor gives him.
Now I've got the little Many-Faces toy here. Can actually see him transform from a demon-possessed skeleton type of creature to a good guy. I guess what you do with the toy, if we might try it here, is you can turn this little deal and you can make his face change.
There you go.
And there he becomes a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
This has got to have some kind of a message to the children.
Oh, definitely. It says you can be demon-possessed and still be good.
I can't believe this.
Do you know what they call these things?
No, what?
The spirits of the air.
Spirit? Well, then that's Ephesians 6:12, isn't
Right.
it? Now, if we miss the generation of youth that's coming up, if we do not minister to them, the Lord Jesus Christ, then we've lost the generation of tomorrow, and the Antichrist will have them.
Children.
I would like to do some research and see how many of these kids that played with these toys are now worshiping Satan. What's the stats?
You could do that with anything. There's many Christians that like Star Wars, and that's I mean, you can.
It's called fantasy, imagination. Why is that?
This is
No,
hysteria.
It's just
Well,
Satan.
you know that's the whole reason we say this isn't in a vacuum. They got the background of the whole Satanic Panic hysteria. Oh, you coming to the 14 days? His name is Adam. We know we run with that. He's just a lot of running on whatever.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, this is just not impressive at all.
Are the church of today. They're an integral part of the body of Christ today. God has placed them within our bodies.
Well, let's go on now and show what the girls are identifying with, which is She-Ra.
Right.
Here's an opening to one of the She-Ra cartoons, and it shows her getting her powers also. Let's go to that right now.
Fabulous secrets were revealed to me the day I held aloft my sword and said, "For the honor of Grayskull."
Let's go on to Thundercats for a moment, because I believe there's something to do with the martial arts in the Thundercats series.
They're also half men, half lion. Again, the beast-man combination, much like many of the gods of the ancients, were half men, half beast, or hybrids, and they do things like communicate with the dead and have occult powers themselves.
Oh,
here's Thundercats.
Of course. Thundercats for sure.
As we've been observing here, there were gymnastics and martial arts type of thrusting and jumping here with the Thundercats. I'm absolutely astounded. Phil, what is this called when they talk to the dead?
That's called necromology, and it's dealt with in Deuteronomy on a number of occasions, that this is something we're not even supposed to have in our home.
It's interesting, if I push the back of this doll, the arms begin to move, and if you put a battery in the back, the eyes will light up. Totally amazing.
Really
I am totally wiped out by what we're seeing here.
So the kid's gonna get this toy. And all of a sudden start worshiping Satan, or he's gonna be out there.
He's gonna talk to the dead.
Oh, Okay,
Yeah.
so that's what the point.
Isn't that plain for you to see?
So the toy companies have this mastermind. So the toy companies are in the occult?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's
So the
making
toy
this
companies.
Yeah.
Okay.
He-Man is more powerful than Jesus Christ.
Right.
In the name of Jesus, I break every stronghold and I command that Satan loses hold upon your household, and I praise God for it. Amen.
As you've been watching today's shocking interview, many of you may want to share this message with family and friends.
I never knew.
Evil powers are trying to brainwash this generation of children, but the truth will set them free. You can take that truth to them. Let's pray that churches across the nation will rise up and expose this deception of a generation. Today's interview includes materials taken and now offered in 3 cassette messages. The cassettes include Spiritual Warfare in Your Child and Deception of a Generation, both by Phil Phillips. The 3rd cassette is titled Dungeons and Dragons by Gary Greenwald. As a bonus, the Eagle's Nest is including the book Breaking Spiritual Dullness and Barriers in Children, an outstanding expose of many of the evil deceptions being perpetrated on young people today. You'll also receive Phil Phillips' newspaper titled Child Effects, updating you on the latest occultic attacks on your children. To receive all 3 cassettes, the book, and the newspaper, simply request the Child Deception Offer and send any donation of $15 or more to the Eagle's Nest, Post Office Box 15,000, Santa Ana, California, 92705.
Oh my goodness, this is just ridiculous. Deception of Generation 2, Part 2.
It gets better.
Okay.
Is there anything occultic or dangerous about Smurfs?
But there are some things about Smurfs that we need to look at. First of all,
Smurfs,
we
Reginald.
notice that they're depicted as blue with black lips.
Well, isn't that interesting?
And you know what happens to you when you die? You turn blue and your lips turn black.
So these
What?
are dead toys.
What? How do you get that conclusion? Man, I tell you, context.
I was cracking up at this last night.
And not just in the biblical language, in the context of the Bible, but just the world in context. I mean, people they just draw their own conclusions.
No, he's.
And what happens when you turn dead? When you go dead, you're blue.
God told him all this.
What the? It's absolutely ridiculous.
I told the boys.
I can see that we're actually destroying our children by letting them watch even the innocuous things because they're all going that direction. I mean, what are you saying about Rainbow Bright?
Again, it's a humanistic emblems and humanistic value system.
Well, the rainbow represents the networking of the New Age.
Right.
And it's interesting that she has a little 5-sided star on her cheek. I don't know if you can see that on the box, but there's a little 5-sided star, and it's upside down.
And they're just so cute.
Now, wait a minute. This is not a pony, though. This is a unicorn.
Right.
Oh.
Let's go into the more blatantly occultic things.
Blatantly.
Yes.
This glows in the dark?
Right. He has the 2 fingers and the thumb, which from my information means Satan is Lord.
Reginald.
There's a camouflage occult movie including levitation, psychic healing, mind control, mental telepathy, that type of thing. E.T. also included some inferences to homosexuality.
I just can't believe this. Let's look at another one here, which we found in the store called a Sectors, Warriors of Symbion. Can they see that? Let me take this out of the box, and I'll show you that it actually does some tricks. Now, this is where a child can identify with this and actually take this out of the box and put it on his hand, no less. So let me see if I can put my hand in here. Oh, no. Unbelievable. And then this creature actually begins to open its mouth and move its legs. Isn't that incredible? And
so they can make it take on life.
It says here that it actually makes the wings move. So let me...
What do you say, Jeff?
Is it you can take on life? Says who? Hold on.
Less. So let me see if I can put my hand in here. Oh, no. Unbelievable. No. And then this creature actually begins to open its mouth and move its legs. Isn't that incredible? And
so they can make it take on life.
It says here that it actually makes the wings move. So let me look at that.
Oh.
Isn't that amazing? I remember a couple years ago I preached a message.
So they have no idea about a category called fantasy, right?
No, it's Satan.
So fantasy it's just purely Satan, regardless.
You know that's right. Why are you supporting Satan?
Grace and peace to Yash Ab. Good to see you. Where are you watching from, brother? Yeah, well, it's ridiculous. Huh? Toys. Okay.
Yeah.
So I wonder what if they saw the actual movie Toy Soldiers or the movie toys. If that's just they took on life themselves by the power of Beelzebub. You know? Could you imagine
I
if?
seem to have missed the references to homosexuality in E.T.
Could you imagine Toy Story coming out around this era?
Oh. They'd be like, that name Woody? Yeah, that's a sexual reference.
The sexual reference. They're trying to get your kids to fornicate at an early age.
For television called Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh.
And in it I dealt with the occultic overtones, the witchcraft, the demonism, the spells that were perpetrated through the game Dungeons and Dragons. And we even had newspaper clippings of children that had dropped out. Some they thought had even committed suicide because of the game. So here's from the cartoon show that's now come from the game.
Excellent. Soon the repairs will be completed, and your work will be done now for. Your ship shall make me more powerful than ever. Well, what is it?
The lost children have been spotted in the forest nearby, with dungeon masters, young ones.
Good. Now we can eliminate them all.
Well, Phil, we've been watching a character here called Venger, and another black creature called Shadowkeeper. What do they represent to you?
Well, I believe that it's a direct depiction of Satan and his demon powers and demon friends. I believe that Dungeons and Dragons is a direct quote from the pit of hell, if you want to call it that. The player's handbook includes over 160 pages of spells to be cast.
Let's look at one of the handbooks here. This is the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, the Monster Manual. Now let's look at another one of these. This is where we go into the Dungeon Master's Guide. Who is the Dungeon Master?
Well, the Dungeon Master is a person who plays God in the game. And he controls all the situations. In fact, the books tell him that he is the god of the game.
Well, I know that when I did my message, and this has happened, I have letter after letter where people took the pieces. Now, there's sixes involved in the pieces of the game, but they'd take the pieces of the game, they would throw them in the incinerator or the fireplace, and screams would come out because there seemed to be some kind of spiritual forces inhabiting those pieces, and children would drop out of life. They didn't want to study anymore.
The good versus evil is white versus black witchcraft. And Anton LaVey, the writer of the Satanist Bible, says there is no such thing as white witchcraft.
Well, being a Satan worshiper, he should know.
Yeah, he should know.
Unbelievable. Now, let me read you one quick letter here. The cassette, this is a letter that came from a lady that had heard my cassette on Dungeons and Dragons, and she just mentions how it changed the personality of her young boy.
Of course.
She says, the cassette from the Eagle's Nest especially helped me with my boy who was involved with D&D. She says, for a period of about 6 months, we lost Tonio, our son. He became rebellious, disrespectful, lethargic. He made sneering faces at us and carried with him a very hostile spirit that could be felt wherever he went in the house. After much sorrow, Tonio finally let go of D&D, only after his father forbid the game as his day's pastime.
This toy and cartoon series is bringing the occult to younger and younger children in a very real way.
I think that right now we should really reiterate, you parents that are watching today, it is your responsibility. If you allow your children to watch these cartoons, if you allow them to bring these comic books into the house, if you allow them to have these toys or you buy them for them, you're going to be held responsible before God. God says not to bring an accursed thing into your house, lest you should be accursed as it is. These things are occultic, they're accursed. They teach the children to get into spells and to witchcraft and to serve demon powers, and demon occultic pagan religions are, the mystic religions of the East are all propagated through this. And I pray in the name of Jesus today that any of you that have this bondage in your household, your children are rebellious and being drawn by these things, I pray in Jesus' name that God would break that bondage today. We loose it right now, and we put the blood of Jesus over you, your family, and your children. God bless you now from the Eagle's Nest.
They are warriors. They are warriors for the Lord. They are
boy.
in. They are
What
in
you
for it.
said. I just want to say one last thing, and you can. I know you said we'll probably have to do a part 2, but
Yeah, I'll have to conclude it, but yeah.
The accursed thing. What is that? That comes from Joshua 7,
Yeah.
the story of Achan. Right? He took some of the spoil, which was called. Now listen to this. I think only the King James Version says the accursed thing.
No way.
The other Bible translations say devoted. So an accursed thing was something that was devoted to God and you don't touch it, right? But I was taught, as the King James Version tells you, no, this specific item is demon possessed.
Inanimate objects, yes.
Story has nothing to do with that. But this is what he meant by the accursed thing.
Wow.
It's in verse 1. So if you want to, maybe we'll
Yeah,
just
let's read
read
it.
verse 1.
So it says, but the sons of Israel acted unfaithfully regarding the things designated for destruction. For Achan, the son of Carmi, the son of Zabdi, the son of Zerah, from the tribe of Judah, took some of the designated things. Therefore, the anger of the Lord burned against the sons of Israel.
Yeah. So it was not to mean you bought a Ninja Turtle and that little brother's got a demon in it.
Yeah, it's a context to it. They are talking about it against the sons of Israel, not against a context of a nation, of a people thousands of years later.
Right, but I just wanted to explain that that is exactly what we were taught at Victory World Outreach. You don't let your kids bring in these demonic toys now. Okay.
So it could just be anything is up for interpretation then, because I say it's demonic, then therefore it is demonic. But Reginald made a good point. And he's talking about the Chronicles of Narnia, and we are concluding tonight. We ran out of time, but we're going to touch on D&D for the next installment. So sorry, we have to do 3 more Satanic Panics.
Sorry, guys.
It's okay. This was a good one. But
I do
Chronicles of Narnia has lions and mystical creatures and yeah.
So let me read a few things from Backward Masking Unmasked. Okay, this is what this Christian pastor said. Music was created by God to glorify him. Any music that does not glorify God is a perversion of what God intended. If people are using music for their own purposes, then they've stolen God's gift and are using it selfishly. So you can't use music as a career. Let's make that clear. So the question is not whether the group is sexually perverted, immoral, or even in the occult. If you are a Christian, then every record you buy from a secular group is helping them financially. If the group is into drugs, then you support the drug habits by purchasing their albums. If they buy sex, then you're supporting that.
That's ridiculous.
So anybody that doesn't sing about Jesus, we're talking Tony Bennett, everybody. It's just Satan's music. Period.
Satan's music, yes. Yeah. I mean, it's just really not getting people to think clearly and discern. Like, best way to put it, discernment versus hysteria. And that's what I think we presented for the last couple installments.
Yeah.
Discernment versus hysteria. Like, for instance, we talked years ago about, I'm a big Tool fan. They do have a song that is basically talking about Jesus, and, you know, he's not a believer. So that's a song I definitely wouldn't promote, listen to. I listened to it when I was, you know, not living for the Lord, but doesn't mean I can't appreciate the musicianship of Danny Carey, the drummer, the bass player. I like the way they compose songs, and I just totally dismiss their talent because it's not, you know what I mean?
Well, you know, I think I shared with you, even thinking about the song Rhiannon by Stevie Nicks. She said it was about a Welsh witch. So some people are like, well, I don't listen to that. Okay, I get that. However, there's a fairy tale that many of us taught our children, and we were taught this. Hansel and Gretel had a witch in it. The Wizard of Oz has a witch in it. Does that mean that we're all about witches now because we knew that nursery rhyme and we watched that movie?
And now you need all these professionals to go in there and tell you, oh, they're like spiritual surgeons, and they're letting you know about the toys and your mat and that picture on your wall. These are all, you know, this is deliverance ministry, proto deliverance ministry that we have now.
Right. Thank you.
Because that exists, now we have not to use the psychos like the deliverance ministry people talking about
Mm-hmm.
your backpack, your hoodie. This is all stuff that's going to bring spirits in. This is ridiculous, you know?
Yeah, well, even the guy
Mm.
reading the mom, well, my son was just not acting right and this, that, and the other thing. But as soon as he got rid of that game, he was better.
Yeah, as soon as you got rid of the
Teenagers
game.
don't go through rebellion. They don't have their hormones raging. None of that's going on.
Yeah, I know. It's so ridiculous.
So.
Okay, well, anyway, so that is going to be installment number 1 on this 2-part series. We're going to make it a 2-part series. Next week, we will touch on the D&D because there's a lot of cool facts about the game, the invention. It's pretty cool. I've never actually played it, but it seems pretty fun.
Yeah, I'm
worshiping Beelzebub, but what it really is and how it died down for people to think it's actually the occult nonsense. Then we kind of go into where's D&D now in the modern day. So, and we can compare that with World of Warcraft. We can compare with any other game that's out there. And if we have that mindset, any game that's on PlayStation right now could be considered the occult.
Yeah, you know, this reminds me of is Romans when Paul's dealing with the weak and the strong in faith, right? This person believes this food must have been sacrificed to idols. They don't want to eat it, okay? But the bottom line, what happens, and it still happens today, I'm a Christian, Jesse, and if you like, let's say, a certain movie, well, you, brother, are not a real Christian because I don't like that movie. I think it's evil.
Yeah, I think it is. Because I say so. Isn't that ridiculous? We don't like, yeah.
Maybe that's why Paul said keep those convictions to yourself. I'm just saying.
Well, so that was a good one. Hopefully we demonstrated, I mean, how radical you can get with it. When you're looking for it, you will find it, but is it true? And I think the secular court system dismissed all the hysteria and satanic panic, and I'm glad it did because logic and reason was there. And for us as Christians to say that some people in the world can have logic and reason.
What? No,
you know what I mean?
I think sometimes, didn't Jesus even say children of the darkness are wiser than the children of the light? Why is that?
Superstition. We tend to gravitate towards tradition, superstition. A lot of these people don't understand the pastor and the guy talking about the toys and all this circumstantial evidence that they found. The fact that they come from a tradition of charismatic Pentecostal Protestantism, Salem witch trials. We look at the witches in England. If they were to understand their background and say, you know what, for many, many centuries, we have misunderstood people and their walks, and there's a more nuance to the world than just Satan, Jesus. You know what I mean?
Right.
We got to be logical. We got to be able to think smart. And this is not thinking smart. It's superstition. It's making people just shun away from the Christian faith altogether. Like, that's what they're about. Well, no, that's not what we're about.
Well, and like we've said before, Jess, yes, there is some music. They literally do talk about Satan and they hate God. We get that. We're not going to deny that. But to think that a particular type of music like metal or rock, they're all about evil, that's just retarded.
Pretty much is. That's a good word, retarded. Now not to say that no more. It's offensive.
I don't.
But anyway, shout out to the viewers and Kick. A couple of views on Rumble. Next time, leave your name, your location, where you're watching from. Misfit 9307, Frankie Lincoln 87, Brother Reginald Wells, Josh AB, Grace and Peace. So we'll catch y'all in the next one.